Hello and welcome to the latest gaming rules video log. My name is Paul Grogan, and in this video I'm going to be telling you everything that I got up to since the last video log, which was the 8th of January 2020, right through to the present day, which is now February the 10th, 2020. So it's going to contain 2020? 2020, yeah, 2020? I don't know. Anyway, whatever it is. Today, I'm going to be telling you all of the games that I played, the content that I've produced, an update on the Patreon, and all sorts of other things. A massive thank you at the start of this video to all of my Patreon supporters for making these videos possible. A lot of you seem to like these video logs more so than I expected. It's not to say that I don't think these video logs are good, it's just they seem to be quite a lot of people's favourite content of the month. So I'm going to carry on creating them as long as I carry on doing the Patreon. And if you like my videos, either this or the other content that I make, then please consider supporting me over at patreon.com. The next goal of the Patreon campaign is to start doing playthroughs of older games. I will basically do one playthrough a month of an older game once we reach the next goal, which is a few months away at the current rate of growth. In fact, at the current rate of growth, it's about a year away, but I'm hoping things pick up later on in the month. Right. So let's start with all of the games that I've played in the last month, and it starts with January the 8th, which was the day, the same day that the last video log went live. So straight after the last video log went live, club night in Cullompton at the Cullompton Games Group, and I played 2 games that evening. So I played Judge Dredd Helter Skelter because on the Friday of that week, I was also doing a live tutorial and playthrough of Judge Dredd Helter Skelter. So I needed to play the game and learn it beforehand. So yeah, there's 2 games of Judge Dredd Helter Skelter played in January. One on the Wednesday night at the club where we learned how to play and then played it. And then again on the Friday, and the video for that is on the channel now. If you want to do a live tutorial and playthrough video, or just, well, it's not live now, obviously, if you watch it, but a tutorial and playthrough video of Judge Dredd Helter Skelter, you can watch that on the channel now. Now, I quite like Wildlands. First of all, it's a Martin Wallace design and it doesn't feel like a Martin Wallace design. And he's very versatile as a designer. And I quite like the game. It plays quite quick and it's quite fun. And I was really looking forward to the Judge Dredd game. In fact, I thought I was going to prefer the Judge Dredd game because it's going to have more ranged combat in it, which I quite like. And the ranged combat in Wildlands, it isn't really there. I think it's only up to a maximum of range 2, so you don't really have much of it. And there's a lot more ranged combat in the Judge Dredd version, which for those people who don't know is basically a sort of a reskin of Judge Dredd. I don't think they've changed any of the rules really, apart from one minor one from what I remember. But the factions are a little bit more asymmetrical. Some of them have special powers, and it's obviously there's more ranged combat because it's guns. Now, currently, I think there might be a problem with the game, and I'm putting this out there because I want to hear what other people think. I've now played Wildlands about 3 times, and I've played Judge Dredd twice. And in the game, your objective is to get to 5 points, and you get a point by either collecting one of your crystals on the board, or by killing somebody else. By removing one of the other figures from the board, right? Now, you remove a figure, the player who removes the figure from the board will get the point. And basically, each figure has a certain amount of health points. And as you hit somebody, their health will gradually goes down. So it's whoever does the killing blow. Now, one of the really ingenious parts of this game, and what sets it apart from most other skirmish games, is the interrupt action, which is really clever. And on any player's turn, if you've got an interrupt card in hand, you can interrupt their turn and basically take an entire other turn yourself by playing other cards, moving, shooting, etc, etc. Really clever, really like it, and I praised the game for that. However, what I found now in the last few games that I've played is that it's all about kill stealing. When somebody gets down to 1 health, you interrupt, shoot them or stab them in Wildlands, and then you'll get the kill and you'll get the point. And that's how you get the point. So when you're wounding somebody, you know that at some point somebody's going to kill steal. So what happened in our actual last game is that nobody even wanted to attack anybody. And that was really weird because even if you've got all of the cards in hand to be able to kill somebody outright in one go, which means like attacking them multiple times, somebody's probably just going to kill steal it near the end. So we ended up playing a lot of the game when nobody was really attacking each other because it was like, well, I could attack, but all I'm doing is I'm weakening it for somebody else to kill steal it. So again, I'm not sure about the game. If you have your own thoughts on it, I'd love to hear about them. I do like the game and I do like the system, But yeah, I found that's a slight problem with it, and I'm waiting to be convinced otherwise, because I might have got something wrong, and I'm always open to other opinions on the game. So that's Judge Dredd Helter Skelter, and also a little bit about Wildlands. What else did I play? Also on the same night, I played Aeon's End. Now the version of Aeon's End I've only got one version of it. I've got War Eternal, which is not the latest version, I don't think. It's the one before that. And I have been saying on various public forums in the last month or two that Aeon's End is my favourite cooperative deck builder. Now, for me to say that it's my favourite cooperative deck builder, surely that must mean I've played it lots and I really like the game and I really know about the game. No, I've played it once. I played 1.5 games of this. In fact, 1 and 2 halves. I played a solo game and I got halfway through and then ran out of time and I was tired and went to bed. Played another half a game at the club in December. And the one I played on the 10th is the only full game I've played, and we got absolutely decimated. The game was over in like 45 minutes or something. But putting all of that aside, I absolutely love the Aeon's End system. I like deck building games for a start, but I love the way that it works. I love the mechanisms within the game. I want to play more of this game, and I want to get the other versions of it. I think it's absolutely fantastic. So that's Aeon's End, War Eternal that I've played, and yeah, I definitely want to play a lot more of that. Right, next. Oh, another thing I did on the 10th. So 10th of January, I played Flick of Faith. And I did a live tutorial and playthrough video. So if you want to see us playing through Flick of Faith, that is on the channel now. That went live on the 10th of January. I've actually played Flick of Faith, I think, at least twice, maybe even 3 times in this period of time. I really like Flick of Faith. It is a game which a lot of people will look at it and think, Paul's not going to like this because it's a flicky dexterity game. But I've actually played a couple of these recently, and this one is actually good fun. I've got the edition that came out at Essen. There are a couple of issues with it. There's a couple of rules issues which they know about, they're fixing. The purple colour and the blue colour included in the game are too similar, and they know about that, and they're fixing that. And one of the player powers is way too strong, which they know about, and they're fixing that as well. I basically went to them and said, I've got some concerns with the game, and they told me to tell them, and I did, and they said, yep, all of those we're fixing, for the next printing. It's just really good. It is a simple, flicky dexterity game, but with the fact that you have these laws that change the game up, each player has a little asymmetric power, it's fun, it works, it's quite clever in the way that it is so simple. It's an area control sort of game, and it's just really nice. And yeah, played it again yesterday. Takes about half an hour, really good fun. So that's Flick of Faith. Next up, 12th of January was Gloomhaven Day. We did scenario number 42, which I'm not going to give too many spoilers away, but scenario number 42 is about silencing the voice, and I won't say any more. And that's what we chose to do. Now, I can't say too much about Gloomhaven because of spoilers. I can't even tell you about the character that I'm playing, but the character that I'm currently playing made it to level 9. Now, we've been playing Gloomhaven since October 2017, was it, or something? I got the first copy that was printed, brought it back to the UK, and our group has been playing Gloomhaven since. We've played 40-odd sessions of the game. We've finished the main storyline, but we're still on the base game. We haven't even touched Forgotten Circles expansion yet. Still enjoying it. In fact, I'm going to talk about Gloomhaven a little bit more later on, but that scenario was good. It was interesting. It was different. We had to employ different tactics for that particular scenario, which made us rethink a lot of things about how we're working together. And that's what we like about the game. I know there is a train of thought that it's just a series of combat dungeon bashes, and a lot of the first few scenarios were, but the last 10, 15, 20 scenarios we've played have all been different. They've really felt different. The way that we've played each one has been different. We're still loving Gloomhaven. It's still fantastic. I still think it has scalability issues at high levels, but we're enjoying the game. So anyway, more on Gloomhaven later on because we played it yesterday. Also on that day, because we finished that scenario earlier than planned, we had time for another game before Mark had prepared dinner. And Mark had bought Nova Luna at Essen Spiel, which I saw at Essen. I know Mark had a copy, but I didn't know anybody else who had a copy, and I haven't had a chance to play it. And I got to play it on that day, and I really enjoyed it. It is a game that I would like to play again. I think it's designed by, I think it's Uwe Rosenberg. I'm pretty sure it's Uwe Rosenberg. Whether it's him and somebody else, I'm not sure. But anyway, Nova Luna, it uses part of the mechanism from Patchwork in that you can choose, you're going around a circle and you can choose something that's a few spaces ahead of you. And you're taking tiles and you're trying to build up a pattern in front of you. I'll try and find a photo of the game and put it on screen now. But yeah, fairly light, simple game. Really enjoyed it. Quite clever. Would definitely play it again. That's Nova Luna. Next up, have a drink. Club night again. Wednesday the 15th of January was club night at Columpton. And I got there a bit late because I'd gone to a Tai Chi lesson first, which the local library was putting on as a free taster session. And me and Vicky went along to it to see if it was our kind of thing. We're not sure if we're going to, because obviously it's Wednesday nights, so that clashes with the Columpton group. But yeah, we need to look into that more to see if it's something we'd like to do. But anyway, I got to the club late. And the games I played that evening were Tiny Towns and Wavelength. Now, I've probably spoken about Tiny Towns first before, but there was a group of people at the club who were relatively new to gaming. And Tiny Towns is one of those games that I think is excellent for people who are new to gaming. I call it a gateway game or just a lighter game. My nose is itching. That means somebody's talking about me again. So yeah, Tiny Towns. Really enjoy that, really good game, and just played the basic setup, but of course I let them know about, obviously, if they play it again, they can use different buildings and they could see how the game would be different. Then I played Wavelength. Now, Stephen bought Wavelength. I was really keen to try Wavelength because recently I've tried just one. And I'm going to talk about that later on. But very, very much enjoyed just one. And again, great game for the Columpton Games Group with new gamers, and it's a good experience. So I enjoyed Wavelength. I didn't enjoy it as much as just one. It was harder than just one. Coming up with a clue for, you know, if you've got something that's cool or uncool, and you basically rotate the dial and it tells you where it is, and then you've got to name something which fits in that exact... It's a very, very clever game. And I did enjoy it, and I would definitely play it again. It was a bit harder than I was expecting. And when Steve gave the clue of stereophonics for the cool or uncool, it did spark a really interesting discussion about, well, are they cool? Well, they used to be cool. Are they still cool now? Well, we're not sure. Well, what does Steve think? We don't know. You know, so yeah, it did spark a discussion, and that was quite interesting. I think my first clue, I went first in the game. And basically the thing that I had was weak or strong. And I turned the dial, because you turn the dial, and then basically it ended up really down on weak. Not quite on the very, very end of weak, but just one notch up. There's probably like 20 notches or something like that. And I was like on notch 2 out of 20. So I had to think of something that was weak, but not the weakest thing ever. And I was like, oh no. And my brain on those sorts of things, being creative is quite difficult for me. And I struggled. And in the end, I just said, butterfly. And Steve and Rick really talked, no, it was Steve and Andy, that was it. They talked about it and they were like, oh, well. And they said, well, it can't be really weak, because if it was really weak, he would have said, you know, wet toilet paper. And I was like, well, I never even thought of that. And they had a good discussion about it, and they have to try and guess where on the dial basically it is, which notch it is. And they guessed at notch 2, which meant we got 4 points, which is the maximum, which was excellent. So obviously it was a perfect clue, but that's Wavelength. If you know the game, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you don't know the game, I may not have described it that well to you, but it's quite good. Yeah, definitely play that again. What else? Thursday I left for HandyCon. And I'm wearing my HandyCon t-shirt here. The plan was that I was actually going to wear my HandyCon t-shirt for this video. And then I've just been out and it's very hot. So I'm actually going to do a bit of a striptease live on camera. And I'm going to reveal my HandyCon t-shirt. There you go. HandyCon t-shirt. Now I've got to clip this back on. So I went for HandyCon. Now this was HandyCon, was it 7? 6? I can't remember. Anyway, HandyCon 6 or 7. But I've been to HandyCon for the last couple of years. I have named it previously one of my... I have named it the best UK convention there is. No disrespect to anybody else running any of the other conventions out there, but just I really enjoy HandyCon. It's like 550 people. It's in High Wycombe. It's a hotel, but they go to a lot of effort. There's various events, there's playtesting, there's all sorts of stuff going on there. It isn't just a convention where you turn up and play games. If you want to do that, you can, but there's lots of other things going on, and it's just really well run. And I'm not saying that because the organiser's a friend of mine. It just is. So I went to HandyCon. Now, one of the things about HandyCon, and this is a bit of a, I'm going to touch on some personal stuff here. The UK conventions that I've been going to for the last 4 years have been work related. And what I've been doing is I have been pushing myself more and more at these conventions, and I've been running 2 demo tables at once, sometimes 3, for 12 hours a day, non-stop. I've been trying to basically, and again, I'm not going to go into the full reasons why I was doing this, because it's quite psychological, but I would be trying to fill every second with something. So I would have 3 tables going. I think, right, I can start teaching that game there, then I can leave them, they can play that while I run over to this table here, and I can start teaching that table there, and then I can do this, and then I can do that. And I kind of thrived on that, but I was absolutely exhausted by the end of it, and then didn't sleep because I was on massive adrenaline, massive anxiety, and I just kept doing it. And I kept doing it for years, and it's not good and it's not healthy. And this January, I went to HandyCon and I decided I was going to do something different. And I only worked 25% of my time at HandyCon. And the rest of the time at HandyCon, I actually spent playing games with people I wanted to play games with, which when you go to a games convention, that's what you're supposed to be doing. But as I say, I won't go into the full reasons why, but my work has taken over my life for the last few years, and I tried to force as much work as I could into these events. And I took a bit of a step back. So I had a brilliant time. I had a really, really good time, and almost every game I played was fantastic, and I really enjoyed the company and the people I played games with. So thank you very much to all of the people who played games with me and helped teach me the games. I'm going to go through them now. So I arrived on the Thursday, drove up there. Well, I didn't drive up there. Steve drove up there. The weather on the way up there was horrendous. Me and Rob were chatting in the car, and Steve was basically on the motorway like this, trying to keep it in a straight line. But we got there on the Thursday, and the first thing I did was demo a game called Under Falling Skies, which is not, it might be the final name for the game. It's a prototype, so the name might change. It's going to be one of CGE's games for this year, and it's actually a solo game, but I think he's best played with 2 people working together, working out how they're going to do it. Thematically, it's basically space invaders. Aliens have arrived, they're coming down, hence the Under Falling Skies, and you've got to do research, and you've got to blast them out of the sky, and you've got to develop and do all of this sort of stuff. It's very clever. It was an entry in the 9-card solo game contest on BGG a few years ago, and it either won or it came really highly regarded. So it's a very good game, and I'm going to be part of the development of this game in March. I'm going to the Czech Republic in March for about 4 days, and one of the things that I've said when I'm there is I'm more than happy to spend 4 days working and developing this game. I won't be. I will be doing other stuff while I'm there as well. But yeah, I'm going to get to do this more. So I demoed the game then. Then I played Expedition to Newdale. Now I don't want to talk too much about Expedition to Newdale because I'll be covering it more later this month. Apart from to say that I really enjoy it. That was my second game of it. I've played it 2-player and I've played it 4-player. I really enjoy the game and I want to play more of it. More later this month. Cooper Island I also played. Now the reason why I played Cooper Island, not only because it's a good game, and Graham hadn't played it and he wanted to play it, and I enjoy teaching heavy games, is that my Patreon supporters voted on Cooper Island as one of the games that I would be reviewing in January. Therefore, I've got to play it a couple more times in order to, form a proper opinion after playing it multiple times at different player counts. So I needed to play it just once more before doing the review. And again, I'm not going to talk too much about it, apart from say that it was one of my top games of last year. So the review is going to be positive, but there are things in the review that I point out that I'm not 100% keen on. So that was Cooper Island. This was on the Thursday night. HandyCon doesn't start till the Friday, but we played these on the Thursday in the bar area. Then, after we played Cooper Island, Charlie and Marie were available, and we went, do you want to play just one? After Cooper Island, which was exhausting, and it was late, and I was tired, I was like, Tom's brought just one. I want to play it because just one is fantastic. Really, really good fun. And we played it and it was hilarious. It's a game, yeah. It's just a fantastic game. It is so simple. It is so clever, but I absolutely love it. And I have only played it twice in my life. And the first of them was New Year's Eve last year. So I've got to just one quite late, but it is a fantastic game. We had so many really clever, funny, amazing clues. Obviously, the people you play with are a big part of whether it can be enjoyable or not, but there were some really clever clues, and thank you to the people I played with, because that was a very memorable game. We didn't do very well, but it was a lot of fun. Right, Friday morning, Gary at HandyCon always toast, not Gary, Guy. Where did I get Gary from? Guy, sorry Gary, sorry Guy. Guy always puts on, he runs a room at HandyCon. They give him a room and he runs Memoir 44 events. He takes his own time out and he runs these big Memoir 44 games using a special set of rules for Memoir 44. I can't remember what they're called, but it's basically a field commander. So there's 4 people per side, the person who's in charge, and then 3 field generals or something like that. And you play this big scenario. And I've wanted to play Memoir 44 for a long time. I quite like the Command and Colours series. I'm not saying it's perfect and brilliant, because it has a few issues, but I got Battle Law 2nd edition and I just enjoy that. And I'm also working on painting the spaceships for Red Alert Space Fleet Warfare, which is the sci-fi version, but it's all based on the Command and Colours system. Memoir 44 is the World War II version of it. So thank you very much to Guy for asking me to join in that game. I had fun. The game ran a little slow because there were 4 people per side. There was a lot of downtime. It was a bit slow, and the game seemed to go, it was a bit too slow for the 2.5, 3 hour block that we had. But also dice. I hate dice. I mean, I like dice when they're used in Euro games, but when it's dice for resolution, I know Red Alert's got that, and I know Battle Law's got that, and I'm playing other games that have got that. But in this game, the dice were completely against us for the whole game. I mean, literally, our side just kept rolling misses, and their side kept rolling hits. And it went on like that for 2.5 hours. And then there was one time, which is pretty much the last move that I made in the game, where I did, because the game can be very tactical with the movement. And I moved my tanks into a position round the back where basically I cut off the retreat of this infantry unit that was in a town. So it was a really good tactical move, and basically it meant that if I rolled a hit, they were killed. If I rolled a wildcard hit, they were killed. If I rolled a retreat, they were killed. And there was only 1 of them left, and I had 3 dice. There was a 1 in 6 chance per dice that it would be no effect, and I rolled 3 blanks. And it's just, right, okay. And then on their turn, they rolled 1 hit and killed all my tanks. It's like, okay, it's games with dice. And with that many units and that many dice, you'd hope that they would average out. And I get that dice provide excitement, but yeah, the game was a bit slow. I wouldn't necessarily play it again, except with people who all knew what they were doing, and the game ran a bit faster. But yeah, thank you to Guy for putting that on. And lots of people join in these events every time at HandyCon, so it's really good. Right, then, what did I do? So during the day, I ran a Sanctum demo and a Letter Jam demo. I won't touch on them too much because they were just demos that I ran. But then I played Cloudspire in the afternoon. So I was running 2 Cloudspire demos. Well, they're not really demos, so I wasn't being paid to demo it. But I want to play Cloudspire a lot because I think the game is fantastic. It's one of my favourite games of 2019. And I love teaching games to people, and I love introducing it to people. So basically, I advertised the fact that I was running these Cloudspire games. If anybody wanted to come and join in, they can. And Colin joined in because Colin's got the game but hasn't played it. So I thought, well, this is the perfect way to play the game. You play the game. And we played a 4-player game, but with only a 2-player game but with 4 players. What I mean is we played the 2-player version of Cloudspire, but with 2 people per side. So it was me and AJ playing together as a team, and we played one faction, and Colin and Dan played the other faction. Now, I played the first 2 rounds, and that took quite a while. That took 3 hours, and then I had to disappear off to another game, but I then left them to it, and they then played another round after me. Cloudspire is fantastic. I have spoken about Cloudspire in every video log that I've done for the last 2 or 3 months. So if you're new to the channel and you haven't seen any of my video logs before, Cloudspire is fantastic, and I'm going to talk about it a bit more in a couple of minutes' time, because that was my first Cloudspire game that weekend. That evening, I had the pleasure of playing Maracaibo with Paul, Fronstoff Harris himself, Amy, and James. Paul taught. He did a really good teach of the game. It meant I didn't have to teach the game, because Amy hadn't played before. The rest of us has, and I wanted to play again for 2 reasons. One, the game's fantastic and I love it. And the second is this is another game that my Patreon supporters voted on that they wanted me to review this month. So I wanted to play it again, just to refresh my memory on certain things about the game and to see if my opinions that I had from the first few games had changed, which they hadn't really, but just to get more of a flavour of the game. And we actually played through, because you can play the game without story mode. You can just play the game as it is, or you can play with story mode, which is like a campaign setting. We actually played the campaign setting because it doesn't add that much to the game, but what it does add to the game is a nice little narrative story element, and I think you can play it with that story element right from the start. You don't need to play the base game before you play with the story. Yeah, so we did that. Amy won. She'd never played before, played really well. I played terribly. And the review of Maracaibo is now on my channel. So I did it last week. If you want to see what I think about Maracaibo, go and check out that video now. On the Saturday, I did another demo of Sanctum, and then I played Flotilla. Now, Flotilla is a game that I played a couple of months ago, did a live playthrough on the channel of Flotilla, played it 3-player, and was very curious afterwards, because Flotilla, all respect to the designer and the publisher, JB Howell is the designer, and another guy, I can't remember his name, sorry, WizKids is the publisher, but the game does something quite different. It has the Concordia mechanism for the cards, but it does something a bit strange. You start off Seaside, I think it's called Seaside. It's in the future. It's Waterworld, the board game. Well, it's not really in the future. It's an alternative timeline where the testing that, I think it was the Americans, the testing that was done, the nuclear testing that was done on the Bikini Atoll back in the 40s went wrong and caused nuclear devastation across the world, and this is what's left, is basically what it is. But you all start off down Seaside. I don't think it's called Seaside, but I'm going to say Seaside. And you've got boats and you're going out and you're diving and everything else. And at a certain point in the game, you can switch to Skyside. You don't have to. If you don't want to, you can play the whole game and stay down below. But once you switch to Skyside, you're playing a totally different game, and it's very different. And it's the way that the Skysiders interact with the Seasiders that's quite clever. Now, the last time I played it, the first time I played it, we all played Seaside for 2/3 of the game, and then we started to switch to Skyside. But I'd heard you could switch to Skyside on turn 1. The very first thing you do in the game is you can switch. So I did, because I wanted to see how it worked. It didn't work. Don't do it. If you're playing it, if you want to switch after you've played about 5 or 6 turns and you've got a few tiles and you've built up a bit. Don't switch on turn 1. It didn't work. I want to play Flotilla again. That was my second game of it, was to decide whether this game is actually good and worth playing again, or actually this is just a bit of a gimmick and it doesn't really work. And after my second game, we all enjoyed it and we all wanted to play it again. The playtime is a little long, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, good game. What else did I play? Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace is one of those games that I didn't get until after Essen. Thank you very much to Furel and Spieler for sending me an ex-demo copy from Essen. There were bits missing, so they waited until they'd got replacement bits, and then they sent me, a complete version of the game. But Crystal Palace is one of those games, because I'd been talking about Cooper Island, Maracaibo, as being the great, medium to heavy Euro games that came out at Essen. And people were saying, yeah, but you haven't played Crystal Palace yet. Crystal Palace is great. You're going to love it. So I was already expecting to like Crystal Palace. And I did. Tom delivered a great teach for the game, and I really enjoyed Crystal Palace. So thank you very much, Tom, for teaching. And thank you to Charlie for playing. I've also, since then, I've done a live tutorial and playthrough video of Crystal Palace, only a couple of weeks ago. So if you want to see a tutorial and playthrough of Crystal Palace, that's on the channel right now. You can go and check that out. So I have played that twice in this last 4 weeks. And then on the Saturday evening, I played Cloudspire. Now, the plan was that I was going to be doing another 3-hour slot for Cloudspire, and then I'd go and play Kalis. That was the plan. However, Flotilla overran, Crystal Palace therefore overran, so I was an hour and a half late going into the Cloudspire game. And it was with Caroline and Peter and Ronan, their son. Well, I don't think they were all playing at the same time, or maybe they were. And it was me and Scott. Again, it was the 2-player setup, because a 4-player game takes about 5 or 6 hours. So we played the 2-player game, but with 2 or even 3 people on each side. What an intense game. It was so good. It was so intense. I had to cancel the game of Kalis and we just played Cloudspire until we finished, which was about midnight. I was absolutely exhausted and I could not sleep that night at all because that game was just so on the edge, so tense, so good. And as I mentioned earlier on, one of my favourite games of last year, and I can't play this game enough. It was just such a good game. So thank you very much to Scott, Caroline, Peter and Ronan for that game. It was fantastic. I can't even remember the details of it now. I just remember how tense and how exciting it was. It was very much still a learning game because there were certain mistakes that were made during the game that are very much things that you would learn from if you play again. But yeah, the game was just really good. Really enjoyed that. So that was Saturday. On the Sunday, Caroline, Peter and Ronan again played Vindication with them. And Ronan taught me that. So thank you very much, Ronan, for teaching me Vindication. Vindication is a game that I'd had my eye on. It looks pretty. Various people had said, Ian from the local Clumpton group had said, oh, you're going to like this game, Paul. The thing is, people say that a lot to me. And sometimes they're right. And sometimes they're way off base and I don't enjoy the game at all. And Vindication is a game that I looked at, and without knowing much about it, I'd formed an opinion that, okay, I'll give it a go, but I don't think I'm going to like this game for some reason. I'm not sure why. And I really did enjoy it. I enjoyed the game. I'd definitely play it again. Ian in Clumpton has got a copy of the game and he's invited me around and I do want to play it again. What was great is that about halfway through the game, Scott, who we'd played Cloudspire with, came over and started chatting to us and explained a certain thing on the board that the other didn't know. So Caroline, Peter and Ronan, they've played it a few times before, but they didn't realise that visiting the Academy, you could do the ability of the Academy multiple times and become vindicated. And Scott was like, oh yeah, you can do that multiple times. And they thought, oh, I thought it was just once. So yeah, it was a good game. I did enjoy it. I managed to get a combination of cards and I tried to rush the end of the game quickly. Because I basically achieved these objectives and I knew that that was going to get me a lot of points. And I did win the game. It's not why I enjoyed it, but I did enjoy that. The downside of Vindication is that afterwards I contacted the publisher and said, I've just played your game. I really enjoyed this game. Is there any chance of a potential review copy? Because I'd love to have this, in my collection, in the GridCon library, and I'd love to play it again and do some videos of it. And they said that the game's sold out. They're completely out of stock. They don't have any. I mean, turns out that they know me, they like the content that I make and everything else, and they said we'd love to, but yeah, we just don't have any left. So cross fingers, there's a reprint coming soon. So that's Vindication. And then a quick game of Letter Jam to finish off. So that was HandyCon. Right, next up. Tuesday after HandyCon was the next chapter in our Arkham Horror card game series. So we're currently playing the Path to Carcosa and we're live streaming all of them. And on that Tuesday was chapter 4 of the Path to Carcosa campaign. I can't really tell you much about it other than without giving any spoilers away. But if you're interested in the Arkham Horror card game, you've already played through Carcosa and you want to see us playing through it, then that video is on my channel now. Thank you very much to everybody who's watching. And a special thanks out to Rick and Scott, who are always in the chat and always helping us out with rules questions that we always seem to have during the game. We're actually doing chapter 5 tomorrow. I'm recording this on Monday, the 10th of February, and tomorrow night is the next chapter of the Arkham Horror campaign. So there you go. Next up, Friday at Gaming Rules HQ. So this is the Friday, whatever date it was. I did 2 videos that day. The first one I can't really talk about too much, because it was a private live stream. So it's a game called Gates of Mara, and WizKids are publishing it, and it's by the same designer as Flotilla, and WizKids wanted me to help test the rulebook was clear, in that we were able to play the game from the rulebook. Now, because I've got the studio set up, as I now have, the best way of me doing that is I do a live stream for the publisher, so it's a private stream, for the publisher. And what we did is 3 friends came over, we sat down, we read the rule book beforehand, and then we basically got out the game and we tried to play the game from the rule book. And it was, obviously, it was useful for them because the rule book was still being worked on, but we highlighted, and the designer was in the designer was in the chat, Daniel Solis, who's the graphic designer, he was in the chat, WizKids were in the chat. It was It was just a really good way of doing blind playtesting. If you're a publisher and you're watching this video, do this. Don't send your game to somebody, get them to test it and then give you feedback. I'm saying don't do that. That's what I used to do. The problem with that is you don't even know if they've played it right or not. So you've written the rule book, you've given it to the playtester, you've written a rule and you think it's clear. They've read it, they think it's clear, but they've interpreted it in the completely wrong way. You won't know that. By us playing live on video, they saw our reactions, they saw where we got confused, they heard the discussion that was going on, and they were there making notes while we were playing. And it was a really useful session. Obviously, I like playing games, but I also like being part of the development process. I mean, the tagline for my company is helping make your game be the best that it can be. And that playtesting that I did, or rules testing that I did on that Friday afternoon, was an absolutely essential part of the process of that game to help get the rule book for that game. You know, there were two things that happened in the game that weren't even mentioned in the rule book. And they went, oh yeah, we haven't got that in there. And I'm like, yeah, you've not got it in there. So it was really, really good, really productive. But yeah, nobody will ever see that video because it was a private live stream with a prototype of the game. But in the evening, we played Summit. Now, Summit is a game from Inside Up Games. Connor McGooey, thank you very much, Connor, for getting me this game. And it's a mountain climbing game. And there's a solo mode, there's a cooperative mode, there's a competitive mode, there's a team mode. Wow, there's lots of different ways you can play this game, but it is mountain climbing. And we played the cooperative mode, and I'm quite glad that I played the cooperative mode. I liked the game, and I liked the theme, and I liked the way that the movement mechanisms worked, along with the Sherpa carrying your oxygen and your food, and you're having to rest and all of that. But the event cards in the game, wow, they are brutal and they are a bit random. So if I was playing the competitive version of this game, I would have probably not enjoyed it as much as the cooperative version because, bless him, Aeon got stung by one bad card, then another, then he fell, then he broke his leg, then his food went off. Whereas I was like, oh yeah, great speed, yeah, this, that and the other. So two of us made it to the summit and back down. I think it was two of us, maybe it was three of us. But in the cooperative game, as long as one player has made it to the summit and back down again, then you win. And you can customize the difficulty accordingly. And it turns out we played on easy. We thought we were playing on medium, but we played on easy. So you can customize the difficulty. I do want to play it again as a solo, but I don't think I'd play it in competitive mode. I'm interested in playing it as a team mode because I do like team-based games. But yes, the event cards did feel a little random at times. But yeah, want to play that again. That video is on my channel now. So if you want to see us climbing the mountain to see if we survive or not, well, I've just told you we did. Yeah, but that video is on the channel now. That's Summit. A week later, and I mentioned this earlier on, Crystal Palace. Did a 4-player playthrough of Crystal Palace. It's live on the channel now. So if you want to see me teaching Crystal Palace and playing through it, that video is up there now. And Crystal Palace is a very good game. Yeah, really enjoyed Crystal Palace. Didn't do so well in my second game. The first game I played at HandyCon, I breezed it. Everything just fell right and I felt really in control. The second time I played it, oh no, it was 5-player. Yeah, it was actually 5-player. I felt very out of control. It was clear the other players were doing better and I was like, everywhere I wanted to go, other people did. Because it's kind of dice placement. Anyway, next on my list is Time Stories 1 and 2. Now, this is Time Stories Revolution. Time Stories Revolution is a reboot of the Time Stories series, and they've done things a bit different. So this is the blue box, although it's not really blue, it's still white. It's called Time Stories Revolution, and first of all, the mechanisms of the game have changed. If you didn't like Time Stories, please don't rule out Time Stories Revolution. And I'm not saying that because Space Cowboys are a client of mine and I'm working on the game. What I'm saying is, the new rules for the new Time Stories has got rid of the reset. A lot of the reason why people didn't like the original Time Stories is the fact that you played it, you ran out of time, and then you had to rewind and you had to do it all again. And every time you learned different things and you got better at it. I didn't have as much of a problem with that as other people did, but the new version of Time Stories doesn't have that. It doesn't have time units at all. And I was like concerned about that because I was like, well, hang on a minute, this is what makes Time Stories what it is. Surely if you've got rid of that, it's not going to work. And actually it does, and it works very well. So we were playing through scenario 1, which is the Hadal project, which is actually designed by Kevin and Melissa from Tantrum House. And I'm friends with Kevin and Melissa, so if I were to say that the Hadal scenario is possibly my favourite scenario of all of the time stories I've done, you might think I'm being biased. But it was. I absolutely loved the story. Now, they'd written the story for the original Time Stories game. And then Space Cowboys had to obviously completely redesign and redevelop their scenario to fit it to the new setting. So I don't know how much credit is deserved between Space Cowboys and Kevin and Melissa for the work, but certainly the story-wise was good. The puzzle in it was probably my favourite puzzle of all of the Time Story scenarios. I thought it was really clever and really well done. And I'm actually a bit gutted because we played it on a Saturday afternoon. We started too late. We were in a bit of a rush. Vicky wasn't feeling well. I was struggling to stay awake because I was tired because I hadn't slept well the night before. And unfortunately, we rushed the end of it. And then when we tried to answer the final puzzle, we got it wrong. And then we looked up the solution and we were like, oh, we should have gone. And there were like 3 locations we didn't go to. And bearing in mind, we both like puzzles. We both like working things out. We rushed to the end of it and we removed that puzzle solving part of the game from us because we just went, oh, well, just put those 4 things in and see what happens. And it was clearly not the right thing to do. But so I'm a bit gutted about that, but really, really good. The reason why we were playing that scenario is because I've been contacted by Space Cowboys. I had no involvement in that scenario, by the way, but I was contacted by Space Cowboys to work on the second scenario. And Rick had advised me that I probably should play the first one first. So we played the first one first on the Saturday, and then the plan was to play the second one, Midsummer Night, which is not out yet, because I was testing it, on the Sunday. Unfortunately, Vicky then got ill with a stomach bug, so she was ill and she was knocked out pretty much all day on the Sunday being sick. And I was like, well, unfortunately, we've got to play this because I had the job to do and it had to be done by Monday. So unfortunately, she had to play that one. She was feeling a little bit better and we played through that one. That one is definitely still in development. Okay, so me and Rick basically play tested that scenario over the weekend. We've both given our input on it, and even this morning I'm still talking to Space Cowboys and the designer, and we're working on new wording for the different cards. And obviously we're fixing a lot of typos and a lot of errors. I think it's going to print in a couple of weeks' time. So this is the English version. I think the French version might already be out, I'm not sure. But certainly the English version, as I say, we were testing it. So hopefully when that comes out, if you enjoy that, if you enjoy the Time Stories event scenarios, yeah, me and Rick were involved in that one. So that's Time Stories 1 and 2. Next up, God, this is going on for ages. Club night at the Clumpton Games Group again. And I played Isle of Cats because I was going to be doing a live video of Isle of Cats on the Friday and I hadn't played the game. So Frank West sent me a copy of Isle of Cats. I played it on the Wednesday night to learn how to play it. And then I played it again on the Friday, which was a video on the channel. This is just last Friday, so we're almost up to date. So if you want to see a tutorial and playthrough of Isle of Cats, go and check that out. Really enjoyed the game. It's a fairly, I mean, what's nice is the game comes with a family mode because the base game is a little bit sort of family plus. I wouldn't play the base game with people who hadn't played games before, but there is a family mode. You definitely play the family mode with them, and then if they want to progress to the full game, yeah, there's bits going on in this game. There's a double draft mechanism, which is similar to Bunny Kingdom. There's a tile placement part of the game, which is similar to a lot of other games, but the big difference with this game, as opposed to every other Tetris style game that I've played, where you're trying to cover up as many spaces as you can, in this game, you're actually not. You're trying to cover up rooms because every uncovered room at the end of the game, even if there's just one space not covered, is -5 points. So the right tile and the right shape tile is actually more important than how big the tile is. But it's quite clever. You're collecting different colours of cats. And if you want to see us playing through it, the video is on the channel now. I've played it twice. I've won both games by like 1 point in both games. Yeah, it's a good game. It's a really good game. So that is Isle of Cats. But it didn't take all night. So we had time for Flamme Rouge, and I was looking at the clock and I was thinking, oh, an hour and a half 5-player Flamme Rouge. Are we going to be able to get it in? Well, we'll try, but we'll have to play quick. And it was over in 45 minutes. I'd forgotten how quick Flamme Rouge is. Flamme Rouge, I've spoken about this many times before. I think Flamme Rouge is a fantastic game. It is very thematic, and I'm not into bicycle riding whatsoever, and I don't really like race games. But Flamme Rouge is fantastic. It's tense, it's exciting, it's tactical, it's also strategic, because if you're playing with the hills, which you should do, because it's a really good game with the hills. In fact, it's everything other than the first scenario that uses hills. Excuse me. You basically have to plan. You're thinking, okay, right, well, there's a hill there, so I need to make sure I keep some cards back for that, but then there's a downhill section here, so I want to make sure I've got these cards here. And you can plan that at the start of the game. Therefore, it is strategic. But during the game, based on where everybody is and what's going on, you have to change your plans. It's just really, really good game. So that's Flamme Rouge. We just played, we played the basic game, but we played it with the 5 to 6 player expansion, because there were 5 of us. And then to finish the night off, as if I hadn't had a good enough night already, we played Categorical 3 times. Now, Categorical is a variant for Wibble++. So the game itself is Wibble++. It's a little deck of cards designed by Bez, from Stuff by Bez. And when you buy Wibble, which is just a little deck of cards with letters on and numbers and symbols, there's 5 games included in that box. So you get a little rules sheet and there's 5 games included in there. Categorical is not one of those games. But Bez sent me the rules for Categorical at the end of last year, and I played it on New Year's Eve and it was good. And we played it 3 times that night, and it's fantastic. It's a team-based tug-of-war style game where you basically pick a category. So we played animals for the first game, then we played films for the second game, then we played TV shows for the third game. And you flip over a card, there's 2 letters on it, and it's the first team to shout out the name of something that fits into the category that starts with one of the letters on the card. Sounds simple, but if they get it, you flip over the card nearest them, and basically it's a tug of war as the cards are going back and forth. Brilliant game. It's a team game. I like team games. It was fast. It was fun. It was furious. It was hilarious. You learned a lot about people from the name of the TV programs they were giving. So we were playing the game with Scott, and all of his TV programs that he was saying was all Chips, Open All Hours, It Ain't Half Hot Mum. They were all TV programs from the 80s. And I was like, yeah, I can associate with this. So yeah, that was really, really good. Finally, Friday. And we're all, oh no, not finally, because I've got this weekend. Played 2 games on Friday. Did Isle of Cats at 1 o'clock. That video is on my channel now. So again, if you want to see us playing Isle of Cats, that is up there. And in the afternoon, I did another one of these secret private videos for Parallel Games this time, which is a game designed by Daniel Newman called Astrolabe. I'm going to be working on the rulebook for this game. I'm going to be working on the rulebook for it. Ian O'Toole is going to be working on the artwork for it, I believe. So they sent me a prototype, they sent me the rules, and we were basically learning how to play the game from the rulebook and playing the game from the rulebook in order to give them feedback, because then they're going to go away. I think Daniel's going to go away now and rewrite the rulebook based on all of our feedback, and then it'll be passed to me and then I'll start the editing. So I'm professionally involved in this game. I shouldn't be really sharing my opinions about the game, but what I will tell you is that all 3 of us really, really enjoyed the game. So keep an eye out for this. I don't know when it's coming out. It might be this year, might even be next year, but this is Astrolabe, designed by Daniel Newman. Parallel Games are going to be publishing it. There's a really good game in there. The rulebook, as I say, needs a lot of work at the moment, but that's what this session was for. Right, moving on to the weekend. Yesterday, Sunday, 9th of February, Gloomhaven again. We played, I haven't written down the scenario number. We're going dragon hunting. That's what we're doing. And again, I won't say too much more, but we are at the end of yesterday's session. We have reached the top of the mountain and we have met the dragon, who's not a dragon at all. But anyway, that's where we are in our Gloomhaven campaign. So yeah, we're about to take on the dragon. That's our next scenario, which I think is in a couple of weeks' time. Still enjoying Gloomhaven. And yet again, like I said earlier on, that scenario we played was very different. The goal of that scenario wasn't just kill all enemies. It was to do a specific thing. And we had to really think. We had to customize our deck at the start based on our objective. And then we had to work out how we were going to achieve what we were going to achieve with, the party makeup. So every time we play Gloomhaven, we have to work out what our strategy is for that particular scenario based on the goals. We're still loving it, still fantastic. And finally, again, we finished slightly early. We had half an hour before we went out for pizza. So we played Flick of Faith, which I mentioned earlier on as a really good flicking game. Right, that is everything. That's all of the games that I've played since the last video log. Next up, Patreon. Patreon changes for January. Let's have a look at what's going on. Now, I'm going to be doing something a little different. What I normally do at this point is I read through all of the new Patreon supporters that I've had in the month and I read them out. Now, quite often, I will mispronounce the names because a lot of the names that come up, I have difficulty pronouncing them and I always feel bad. So I'm going to be doing something slightly different this time and I'd like your feedback on whether this is okay or not, rather than just me sitting here reading out a list of names. I'm actually going to show it on screen now. So these are the Patreon changes for this month. First of all, we have a new executive producer, which is Icarus Must Burn, which is Kent. Kent's actually upgraded from producer to executive producer. Thank you very much. We have 11 new producers, which you can see on screen now. So we have Adam, Cheryl, Iker, Jeff, Katie, Ken, Mariposa Games, Mark, Matt, Roberto, and Rodney. Thank you very much to all of you. And 4 new supporters at a lower level, which is Andrea, Benoit, Denez, and Will. Thank you very much for all of your support. As mentioned at the start, this video and a lot of the other content that I make is only possible through the support of the Patreon. I've mentioned in the last half hour, lots and lots of videos that I have done. Most of those videos were not commissioned. In fact, I don't know if any of those videos were commissioned this month. All of these live playthrough tutorials, the reviews and everything else, all of the time that it takes me is all funded through the Patreon campaign. And in the last month, I've taken probably, I don't know, 8-9 days off work in order to produce Patreon content. So if you're wondering where your money is going, that's where it's going. It is actually directly helping me to produce this content because it does take me a lot of time off my paid job in order to create this content. So thank you very much for all of your support. Next up is the contest. So every month I run a Patreon contest. The contest this month was to win a copy of Radiant Offline Battle Arena, which is this. It's a 2-player little dueling card game that I've done a video for. So if you want to know more, go and check that out. It's quite interesting. I want to play it again. And the expansion set, and 2 more of these scratch posters, which are from, what's the company called? Top Scratch, that's it. So top 100 board games, and you can scratch them off when you've played them, and gaming challenges, okay? I'll go over to the computer now to do the draw. So executive producers are first on the list. They get 3 entries. So all of the executive producers have been copied. They're listed here and they're copied in 3 times each. And then below that, we have the list of producers. I now need to do a random number generator, which I'll do now. And the winner is number 124, which is... And the winner is Ian Hayward. So congratulations, Ian. Now, I've actually known Ian for probably about 20 years. Ian's a good friend of mine. We played games together back at the Hemel Games Club when I started going there in the late 90s. So yeah, I've known Ian a long time. Completely random choice. But that's it. Sometimes the people who win are people who I know. Sometimes they're people I don't know. But that's how it is. That's what you've won, Ian. I will get these across to you in the post later this week, hopefully. Now that we've got a post office in town again, I can do that. Now, the contest this month is... Where is it? Oh, it's here. It's on the Underground. There you go. So it's to win a copy of... Oh, this is actually quite heavy. This is on the Underground, London and Berlin, from Ludi Creations. Thank you very much to Ludi Creations for donating this. I worked on the rulebook for this game and I've done a video on this game. Ludi Creations are one of my clients. I've probably given my opinion on the game before, so I won't give them again, but On the Underground is actually, this is like the new version of a game from Sebastian Bleasdale from about 10 years ago, I think. Long out of print. Very highly respected game by a number of individuals in the board game industry. Scott from Crits Happen. Is it Crits Happen? Yeah, I think it is. And people like Tom Vassell from Dice Tower. Yeah, I've always rated the game. I got to play it when I started work on it, and yeah, it's good. So yeah, so that's the contest this month. Oh, and also, and I don't have it here, but I've been sent some Maracaibo expansion. So whoever wins the contest this month will get a copy of On the Underground and one of the Maracaibo expansions. It's just a little pack of cards. If you are a patron supporter at producer level and higher, you don't need to do anything. You will be automatically entered in. That list that I showed you on screen a few minutes ago, I'll do exactly the same at the start of next month's video log, and I'll pick a winner at random. So if you are a producer level or higher, you are automatically entered into the contest. You don't need to do anything else. If you're interested in winning a copy and you don't currently support me on Patreon, maybe now's the time. But I don't want you to support me just to win the contest. I want you to support me because you want to support me and help me make more content. Right, so that's that. Next up, content that I have done in the last month. Now, I'm not going to cover all of the tutorial and playthrough videos that I've already talked about. I'm going to talk about the other stuff. I have done a how to play video for Sanctum. So Sanctum from CGE, last year's sort of dungeon crawly Diablo style game where you're fighting demons and then there's a big boss battle at the end. I've done a how to play video of that. That went live at the start of January. So if you're interested in learning how to play Sanctum, if you either want to know more about it or you've got the game and you want to learn how to play, that video is up there now. I have also done another how to play video on Tainted Grail. Tainted Grail is a massive game, okay? It's Awaken Realms. It's a big box campaign style game. I think this video is probably going to get my second most views after Gloomhaven because the game is big, it's popular, people are talking about it, and it's epic. And, you know, Awaken Realms approached me and really wanted me to do the video, and I really wanted to do the video, but we couldn't make the timings work. They wanted it in like November, December, and I wasn't able to. I already had so many things planned for November and December, I just wasn't able to get it done. And they went, oh, that's really, you know, sorry we couldn't make that work, and they went away. And then a week later, they came back to me. This is all like in September. And said, Paul, everybody else we've asked is also busy, so we'd like you to do it, even if it's January, February when you can do it. The reason why I was excited about doing the video for Tainted Grail is I don't back many games on Kickstarter, okay? I backed Tainted Grail. Tainted Grail is the only real big game that I've backed on Kickstarter in the last 3 years. So I was excited about the game because I'd actually backed it myself. So for me to back a game, that sort of says a lot about how much I was excited about the game and how looking forward to the game I was. So to be asked to do the video for the game, yeah, I was really happy with that. I'm really happy with that video. It was in total about 70 hours of work, but I'm really happy with it. If you want to learn how to play Tainted Grail, go and check out the video. It's long, but yeah, I put a lot of work into that and I'm really proud of the end result. I've also done the review of Cooper Island, as I mentioned. That's gone live. I did the review of Maracaibo. That's gone live. I did a live Q&A with myself, which was one of the best live Q&As I've done, I think. I really enjoyed it. And we had more people in the chat, I think, than I've ever had on any other live Q&A. So thank you very much for that. And last week I did a live Q&A with Vital Lacerda talking about, well, Kanban, because the new edition of Kanban went live on Kickstarter last Thursday, but also talking about other stuff as well. So they are the videos that I've created on my channel if you're interested in going and checking them out. What have I got planned for the next month? Well, it's all going to be very busy. I am going to be doing a solo playthrough of On Mars because that was voted on by my Patreon supporters for January. Didn't manage to get it done in January, and I'm probably not going to do it this week. It's probably going to be next week, but I am going to be doing a solo playthrough of On Mars. Also, the games that my Patreon supporters have chosen this month for me to do a review of are Expedition to Newdale and Black Angel. Solo play, the voting is still open, but as of the time that I'm recording this, Feast for Odin is the game that my Patreon supporters have voted on as the game they want me to do a solo playthrough of in February. Now, they've been quite sneaky, those Patreon supporters of mine, because Expedition to Newdale has a solo mode. In order for me to do a review of the game, I have to play the solo mode as well as the other modes. So I'm going to be playing solo Expedition to Newdale. So I might as well stream that. Black Angel has a solo mode. Again, I need to play the solo mode in order to give an opinion on it, which I have to do before I do the review. So what's actually going to happen this month is you're going to get 3 solo playthroughs for the price of 1. Because I said I'd only do 1. I really only have the funding to take time off to do 1, but I'm going to end up doing 3. So there's going to be a solo playthrough of On Mars, Expedition to Newdale, Black Angel, and Feast for Odin all in the next 4 weeks. I might not get them done in the next 4 weeks, to be honest. I might have to defer one of them. But anyway, what else am I working on? I am working on a how to play video for Cat Cafe. I'm supposed to be writing the script today, but it's 6 o'clock and I'm tired. So I haven't even started editing this video yet. So that's not going to happen. But tomorrow morning, I will be writing the script for the Cat Cafe how to play video. That's from Alley Cat Games. Arkham Horror Chapter 5, Carcosa, tomorrow night. On Thursday, I'm going to be doing 2 live tutorial and playthrough videos. Ming Voyages and March of Progress. These are 2 more games in the Cousins War series of games. One of them is designed by Alan Paul and David Mortimer, and the other one is just designed by Alan Paul, both published by Surprise Stare Games. Going to be doing videos on these on Thursday, so if you can watch them live, great. Otherwise, you can watch them afterwards. And on Friday of this week, I'm doing a live playthrough of Rush MD. So this is a real-time dexterity game where we're doctors working in a hospital. It's going to be crazy. So that's happening this Friday at 8 o'clock. Also happening this month, rulebook work. Kingdom Rush, working on the rulebook for Kingdom Rush. David Digby's working on that with me. Rulebook for Dice Hospital, expansion. The Tungaru rulebook is pretty much done. Oathsworn rulebook, the Kanban rulebook. Next week I'm working on the Magnate rulebook. I'm working on the rulebook for Space Race. And I'm also going to be doing a how to play video for Tranquility, which is a nice little 2-player card game. I'm probably just going to write the script this month because I don't think the game's going to arrive until next month. But they are all of the things that I am working on in the next few weeks. It's quite a lot. There'll be some other playthroughs as well, but yeah, it's going to be busy. There's going to be a lot of content. Right, one other thing I wanted to mention is that being whatever word you use to describe me, and please make it nice, but you know, whether it's content creator, influencer, media person, whatever you want to call me, I am one of those. And as such, I get various emails from time to time with people wanting to give me things which they then want to be shown on the show, okay? So for example, the Arkham Horror games, I use playmats for Arkham Horror, okay? They sent me 2 playmats, we use those playmats in the games, and I tell people what playmats are being used. I've not taken any money for that. I'm not being paid any money for it. Now, some other content creators do take money for that sort of stuff, and I've actually heard some stories recently of content creators that are, well, I don't know, doing things that I would never do. So taking a product from somebody, offering to do some video coverage of it, not doing the video coverage, and then when chased about it, say, oh, well, it's going to cost you $300-400 or something like that, right? I've heard of these stories. It's not nice to hear that. So yeah, there's a bit of that. Anyway, I'm getting around to it because I get quite a lot of these emails, and sometimes people are offering me stuff that or there's a catch to it, or there's something odd to it. Anyway, I got an email a few weeks ago from a company that makes dice. He basically said, hi Paul, we're a fan of yours, we like your videos, we like what you do, and we'd like to send you a couple of packs of dice. Okay, so I went back to them, and you know, sometimes I just delete those emails because they're clearly generic and, you know, not really of interest in me, but it was well worded, it was nice. I wrote back to them and I said, okay, I mean, I don't do role-playing games, and I don't really play that many games that need a set of polyhedral dice, but, you know, I do play the Pathfinder Adventure card game, and that needs dice, but I haven't played that for ages, but I do want to play it again. Are you sure? And he went, yeah, it's absolutely fine. We'll just send them to you. You don't even have to show them. You don't have to do anything. Just, you know, we just want you to have a set of the dice. And I was like, okay, that's really nice of you. Thank you very much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say thank you very much in this video log, and I'm going to show you some pictures on screen now. They sent me 2 packs of dice. I only asked for 1. They gave me a choice of did I want the red ones or the blue ones, and I said the red ones, and they sent me both packs. So thank you very much for them. There is a link in the show notes if you're interested. But yeah, these are Paladin, Paladin role-playing dice. So there you go. Some pictures on screen, a link in the show notes. As I say, you're probably thinking, oh, well, they sent Paul these dice because they knew that he would talk about it and they knew he'd put a link in the show notes. They didn't ask me to do this. I didn't tell them that I was going to do this. This is me wanting to do this. But yeah, if you want to send me any other free products, I like cheesecake. Send me that. What's next? Personal stuff. Just a quick chat about some of the personal things I've been doing. I've been doing a lot of painting. I'm really, really into painting at the moment, and I'm excited about painting because I'm painting the spaceships from Red Alert Space Fleet Warfare. A game, right, and this is me, a little crazy here. I have played this game once. I have played the basic scenario of this game once. So I have spent 2 hours playing this game. And on screen now are some pictures of the current progress that I've made with painting. And I have painted, I mean, this is a lot of ships. And I spend a long time on these because I'm slow at painting and there's a lot of detail on these. And each one is taking me a number of hours each. And I worked out that I've probably spent about 250 hours in the last 9 months painting these ships. Why? For a game that I've only played once, right? Well, there's a couple of reasons. One, as I say, I get excited about it. I mean, look at them. I like doing things where there is an end result. I have put so much time and effort into these, and I'm now looking at them and I'm getting personal satisfaction and enjoyment from looking at them because I go, I did that, and I'm really happy with them. Also, I am going to be playing this game, and when I play this game, I am going to be playing it with these nice little painted spaceships. I've painted the entire set of Battlelore 2, and I've only played it once since I've painted them, and I want to play it again. And the funny thing is, with the command and colour system, you'll like, your first combat, you roll the dice and 2 units will die. And I'm like, so within 1 minute of playing the game, you've rolled some dice and 2 of those ships have been removed. I'm like, that's 10 hours of painting there. And you've just, it's like when you spend 5 hours cooking a meal and then eat it. And 10 minutes later, you're like, well, that's gone. You know, but it was really, really nice. Anyway, so I'm really excited about this. I'm really on a painting drive at the moment. The other thing, and again, this is some personal information, me forcing myself to paint is stopping working. Because I've had problems over the last few years with overworking myself and pushing myself too much and not being able to switch off. When I'm downstairs with the TV on and I'm painting, I'm not thinking about work. I'm actually concentrating so much that I'm able to detach myself from work. So it's actually quite therapeutic. And also, it means I've been watching a lot more TV than normal. So, we have watched recently, we've finished watching His Dark Materials, BBC adaptation of the Philip Pullman novel. Really enjoyed it. Episode 1 was a bit, wasn't sure, but yeah, His Dark Materials, the BBC production, really good. Just finished that last week. Really enjoyed that. I've started watching, I don't know why, I can't really even remember why, but I've started watching Miami Vice. From 1984. I was 14 when Miami Vice came out, so I'm totally aware of Miami Vice and what it was, but it was a bit too adult for me at the age of 14 to watch it. And I think I've seen the odd episode of it, but I've never actually watched the whole of Miami Vice. So I've started watching it. I'm on like episode 8 of season 1. The filming, the cinematography, or the directing is awful. Absolutely awful. The camera work and everything about it is just awful. Some of the script is weak. A lot of the acting is, but the stories are quite good. And it's one of those things, I've just got it on in the background and I'm watching it. And yeah, I think I might start wearing, t-shirts without the sleeves and a jacket and those weird shoes. Anyway, Miami Vice, yeah. Altered Carbon, I've started watching that as well. Lock and Key, we're going to start watching that tonight. Lock and Key is my favourite set of graphic novels of all time. I haven't read that many graphic novels, to be fair, but I've read a lot of them, and a lot of them are very good, but Lock and Key is just incredible. So the TV series is on Netflix right now. We have Netflix, so I'm going to be watching that. We're also watching Picard at the moment, on episode 3 of that, because we've got Amazon Prime. Obviously, I grew up, well, not obviously, but for those who don't know, I grew up with Star Trek. I'm a Trekker. I love pretty much everything to do with Star Trek and Picard. Jean-Luc Picard is, one of my favourite actors. He's my favourite actor. He's one of my favourite actors, and he's my favourite Star Trek captain. Enjoying that. That's everything. I feel like I've talked a lot. This has been quite a long video log, so apologies if you thought this was a bit long, but I've enjoyed this one. I've enjoyed talking about what I've been doing. There's more stuff as well, but I could go on for another hour. But yeah, ask me that in the next live Q&A. So I'm going to wrap things up now. Thank you very much, as always, to all of my Patreon supporters. I know a lot of you watch this, and as I say, without your support, and I know I say this all the time, but I mean it. This isn't just words. Literally, without your support, I could not do what I do. So thank you for that, and I hope you carry on enjoying the content. And if you're not a Patreon supporter, but you enjoy the content that I make, feel free to support me. You don't have to, but even just $1 a month really adds up. And as I mentioned at the start, the next goal is for me to start doing live playthroughs of older games. So a game from like 20 years ago, I'm going to start doing more playthroughs of older games. That's my plan, because some of the older games are actually still really good, and they tend to get put aside for a lot of the newer games. Speaking of older games, found a copy of Rogue Trooper in the attic. It's incomplete, unfortunately, but with a bit of work and a bit of help from certain people, I might be able to get a complete copy of it, and I might play that again, just for nostalgia reasons. Anyway, time to wrap things up. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much to everybody for all of your support. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Take care. I'll see you next time. Gaming Rules is proudly sponsored by Game Toppers, upgrading your gaming experience. Visit GameToppersLLC.com.